Reading Comprehension, Tips and Tricks. Today we're covering modal auxiliary verbs, thinking doesn't mean reality, passive versus active voice. Let's get started. First, modal auxiliary verbs. These are helping verbs like should, could, might, and may. These are verbs that express need, requirement, obligation, possibility, or permission. Should, could, must, can, may, shall, might, and ought to. These are used as modal auxiliary verbs. They are helping verbs that change the main verb. Jane should be studying. Now, here we have a subject of Jane, and she should be studying. Now, it doesn't mean that she is studying, though. The modal auxiliary verb changes the meaning of studying here. Here it shows an obligation. She should be doesn't mean that she is. So these two sentences, Jane should be studying and Jane is studying, they're not remotely the same. They are very different. They mean two different things. Now this becomes important because a lot of times you will have questions in your reading passages that either ask you to look for actual actions that are happening or actions that should happen. You have to pay attention to what the question asks. Here, the question is asking, what is the Thai mass transit system doing right now? So you're not looking for actions they should do, you're looking for actions they are doing. So in the first sentence, the Thai mass transit system is currently adding a series of new subway and SkyTrain lines to the city. Well, these are actions that are happening. So it answers the question. In the second sentence, critics complain that they should do one payment plan. Well, that means they're not actually doing the one payment plan yet. The question is not asking about what they should do. The question is asking what are they doing. So the student should answer, a series of new subway and SkyTrain lines are being added to the city, because the student is looking at actions that they are doing. So pay attention. The word should in the second sentence means that there is not yet one payment plan. It shows an obligation, but not an action that is currently underway. Now this is very important because sometimes you're asked a question about what should something do, right? So the question, what should the Thai mass transit system do on the subway SkyTrain? Well, now we're not looking for actions that are real, we're looking for actions that should take place, obligations. In this case, the second sentence is useful and the first sentence is not, because we're not looking for actions that are, we're looking for actions that should. In the first sentence, these actions, they are already taking place. You're looking for things that should happen, not things that are taking place. So the student should write, the Thai mass transit system should make sure there is only one payment plan for all 4 transit companies involved. Do not ignore modal auxiliary verbs. They are very important. The first thing that you should do is whenever you see should, could, can, might, may, circle those words. They change the meaning of the paragraph, or they change the meaning of the sentence. Look for those words inside your questions as well. Second idea, thinking does not mean reality. Here, you're looking for words like perceive, think, believe, or predict. A prediction is a belief about the future. It's not necessarily true. Susie believes Santa Claus will visit her. Well, if she believes that, fine, but that doesn't mean that it is necessarily true. It is not necessarily true that there is a Santa Claus, and it's not necessarily true that Santa Claus will visit her. When you see things about beliefs, perceptions, thinking, or predictions, go back into the reading passage and look for evidence or actions that confirm those beliefs. If you can't find actions that confirm those beliefs, then they are nothing more than beliefs. They're not terribly powerful statements. You may have sentences that look like this in your passages. Tigers are being hunted in China and Indonesia because their organs are believed to have healing powers. If the student writes the first one, they are incorrect. Tiger's organs have healing powers. Well, no, we don't know that for sure. All we know is that people believe that. You have to go back into the reading passage and look for evidence that by eating tiger's organs, somebody actually became healthy. If you can't find that evidence to confirm those beliefs, they're nothing more than beliefs. The best thing that you can say is the second statement. People believe tiger's organs have healing powers. That is a correct statement. The statement above simply is not correct. Again, just because people believe this doesn't mean it's true. Look for evidence in the reading passage that confirms these beliefs. If you see words in the passage and you look for evidence and perceptions that they are true, I venture to predict that you will have a very strong statement. However, this doesn't happen often. I think probably about 10, maybe 20% of the passages that I've read or seen where people believe something and there's actual evidence in the passage to prove that it's true. Most of the time, they just think it, but I can't find anything in the passage to confirm it. So be careful. This is a rule you should not be ignoring. Next, passive versus active voice. This one's really important. Students tend to get this one wrong from time to time, and you can really get confused in a reading passage if you don't know who's doing what. Basically, you get sentences that look like this. Dogs are said to be man's best friend. Okay? So the subject is dogs and the verb are said. Now you have to ask yourself, well, who is saying this? Right? So the way that we do passive voice is to be, which is in this case are, and verb 3. When you see to be plus verb 3, it is passive voice. That means the subject is not doing the action. In this case, the subject is not doing the saying. The subject is not doing the talking. Who is doing the saying? We don't know. We don't know if dogs are said to be man's best friend by, doctors, by dog lovers. We don't really know, but we know that the dogs are not saying it. We know that passive voice means that the subject is not saying it. I will still have students write things like, dogs say that they are man's best friend. First of all, dogs say is active voice, meaning the dogs are doing the talking. This is nonsense for a couple of reasons. It's the wrong voice. We're looking for passive voice. And second, it's not even possible. I've never seen a dog ever that could talk. This is the end of the tips and tricks. Make sure that you're paying attention to modal auxiliary verbs. They change the meaning of the sentences you have. They also change the meaning of the questions presented to you. Make sure that you understand that thinking doesn't mean reality. Look for evidence whenever you see thinking words. And next, passive versus active voice. It is extremely important that you know who is doing the action and who is receiving the action. Good luck on your test and quizzes.